Another thing I did actually consider this a red flag, um, at a point in my life,
Hmm.
but then doing more research, this actually became a yellow flag for me. And this
Okay.
was something I started seeing recently. So, like, let me know what you think. You'll usually see a person, uh, for me, in my experience, a majority of the time, this has always been online. I've never
Hmm.
met a person personally who has ever said something like this. And the wording would be, they always leave me,
Okay.
or I can never have friends for any reasons, you know. All of them are ended up being terrible people. For me, this used to be a red flag, and then it became a yellow flag. And the reason was because I started seeing people's comments on it, and they're like, to be honest, in my experience, sometimes they're either the worst person in the world or the most kindest neurodivergent person ever.
Right. So people
And I
take them
was
for
like,
granted.
interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. And then I would see people who were neurodivergent talk a lot about it, and they're like, listen, people leave me, and anytime they have spoke about why, it's because they say they can't handle me.
Oh,
Like
that's
my
heartbreaking.
anxiety,
Yeah.
my depression is too much, or they feel like that's all I talk about. Um, and I do have experience in relationships where people who are neurodivergent, uh, like a good chunk of the time, it was mostly depressing stuff that they would talk about.
Right.
But then because I don't know if this is a yellow flag for me, like a yellow flag in myself,
Hmm.
but there's a thing that clicks in my brain that says, okay, so you're looking for a problem solver. I can listen and problem solve at the same
Right.
time.
Right.
So let me see if I can help in the situation. And then I have to realize that a lot of times the problem solving is not what they need, what they wanted, even
Yeah.
if it is what they needed sometimes.
That's a good observation. I do think unsolicited advice can sometimes be innocent. It can sometimes be a red flag just because it can be a sign of control, like they're trying to control you
Mhm.
or they need control over you. Because I know there are some people, they talk real big, they want to be useful. And so they'll tell you what to do. And that can be a real issue because that has to go both ways for it to be a relationship of equals. And I find those people have pretty serious demand avoidance, right? Like something can be their favorite thing in the world until you tell them to do it, and then nope, not gonna, you're not my parent, right?
Right.
And that, at least for me, because of like my own stuff, there are some times I'm having an issue. Sometimes it's just a chronic illness thing, right? Like I'm gonna pass out or throw up, and I'm not sure which is first. So it's like I need you to stop now, and I need to go for 15 minutes, and I can't have a conversation about it. And if somebody gets really bent about that, it's just not gonna work, you know?
Hmm. And for
Now,
me, I feel like it's a mix of these two things.
yeah, yeah.
Like, sorry, I wanted you to continue, so I'm like, blip.
I got another thing I want to make sure we get to. So finish your thought here.
um, oh shoot, it's like, how do I say this? So I would offer the help, but I realize myself that sometimes I am constantly trying to do problem solving that will is probably
Right.
micromanaging somebody at this point. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, so I want them to have a good life, but shouldn't I should stop doing this. And then it was something that you said. Oh gosh. It's like
Oh, about the control?
yes.
Yeah,
It
because
was something about that.
I'm always happy when someone says, I appreciate the support here. I need to change the subject because this is getting to the point where I'm feeling overwhelmed or it's upsetting. I'm always glad when someone feels comfortable enough to set that boundary.
Hmm.
Especially since most of the people I'm friends with are neurodivergent. And so sometimes it does get a bit like info dumpy. And so it's actually better there to just tell someone, okay, thank you. Let's move on to something else because it's better than somebody getting really upset when the person had no intention of anything about to be helpful, right?
Hmm.
So it's one of these things, right? Because something can be well-meaning and not great for someone, but everybody does that sometimes. And the problem solving, I do think a lot of people it comes from the place of it's an introvert thing, right? If I'm talking about something, it's because I want a solution. And some people it's not that, right?
Oh.
Oh, Bianca's had a revelation. So, okay, is that do you have anything else to say on that particular thing?
No.
Because I do agree that trying to fix like trying to solve people's problems is I agree. I've backed off on that myself. Like I'll ask, do you want help with this? Or do you want, more active support, or you just want someone to listen? To be clear, right? Because this is sort of connected, right? Because there's a difference between talking about somebody when they're not around because you're concerned about them and you're trying to get a game plan, and then gossip, right?
Hmm.
To me, gossip is just cutting someone up behind their back. And this is one of these things where everyone's privacy boundaries are different, and some people are totally fine about seeking advice from other people, and some people it feels like a violation. Everybody's different. But I do think there's a difference between, my God, this is going on. I don't know what to do. They're so upset. I don't know how to help. And, oh my God, did you hear what she said? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And somebody who's prone to gossiping or backtalk or sticking their nose in a fight that isn't theirs. I don't get on with those people well. I mean, you know what I do to people who try to stick themselves in the middle of a conflict, right?
Yes.
They,
It's
they'll,
scary.
yeah, it's scary. I prefer assertive, Bianca, but it's just like, yeah, no, you weren't a part of this, and the fact that you know about it when it wasn't in public, not you, Bianca, but the royal you. If somebody comes running, it means that person went running to them to talk trash. And well, that means that the original person and I now got a problem. And they play the victim like, oh, I was just upset. Is like, so you went to a person you knew would make it worse. Uh-huh. You
For
went to that
brownie points.
well, you went to that person because you knew what they'd likely do and you wanted somebody to fight your battle for you. And I do not respect that because I think the only way something gets worked out effectively is the two people involved or the three people involved talk to each other, not through intermediaries because people get it wrong, right?
Yeah.
It,
I have done that before.
yeah,
I would be shown something and then they would say, "Can you believe this?" And
yeah,
then they would get dogpiled on
right,
and then because they would constantly show it, I'm just like, "Okay, so you want me to go over there and defend you is what I'm
right,
hearing." So I
right.
would do that on purpose. And then I would just get constant thank yous for it and everything. And then after a while, it just ended up being too much. And I'm like, okay, you're doing this on purpose. And
Yeah.
if you get pushback for an opinion online, that's unfortunately going to happen. You have
Yes,
to realize when you feel like you should be stopping the conversation and
that's right.
possibly block.
That's right. Yeah. And if someone keeps someone around just because they do super chats or tips or something like that, I have issues with that, you know? because
Hmm.
I've felt a few people were throwing money at Twitch streams and things like that because they thought, oh, I'd be their progressive friend, who isn't like those others and is like, no, I'm not gonna be the person that tells you your behavior's okay when it's not, and some people would say I lost friends over that, but I don't think those people were ever really friends because somebody who's a real friend is prepared to hear when you think they've gone wrong. And it's ridiculous. Some people will fight you on the facts with things like that. The dumb things that have ended friendships just because I wouldn't agree that chalk is cheese. I wouldn't say up is down. I wouldn't say blue is red. And those loyalty tests, we touched on that a bit earlier, but I don't think I really deep dive into it. That kind of stuff, I think maybe because I know what things like gossip do, they're designed to build alliances, like strengthen your relationship at the expense of other people, because now you have a secret in common.
Hmm.
And, my attitude is there's certain things I'd prefer to stay private, but it's just a reality that anything you say to somebody, especially online, can be screen capped.
Yep.
And
Screen cap taken out of context.
right, right.
Something that is edited, either cropped. People can add in, like if it's writing,
Yeah,
like people can now have the option to copy the font now and make it look like you wrote something. And if you were to post the real one, they could say, "Oh, well, yours is edited. You can just
yeah, yeah,
use like an eraser for it and
yeah.
all that stuff."
That's why I don't cover for people anymore. Cause it's one thing, okay, I'm gonna be late, stall, okay. Every so often, if people start becoming reliant on the fact that I'm not gonna talk, no, I'll blow that up because that's using me. It's because my thought is if they get caught and it turns out I knew, then that's not even a cancellation. I deserved it. If I'm covering up for shitty behavior, that's on me. I learned my lesson with that stuff.
Mhm.
It's wrong to think that a person doing shitty things to other people won't do it to you too, because oh, they will. Like we both know that,
Mhm.
because it's usually not about anybody else. It's usually about the fight that person's having with themselves. And, I do think that if somebody inherently does not like themselves, um, the one thing, if anybody ever says to me again that like self-worth is not real, an inherent sense of worth is not real, I will never stay friends with somebody after they've said that to me ever again.
That's a terrible thing to say.
Well, I felt sorry for them at
Mhm.
first, but what I realized is it was a big spectrum of behavior that it's like I shouldn't have to try. And I
Mm.
think one thing they talk about is one-sided friendships when you Google red flags and friendships. And I think that needs some unpacking because it's easy to say something's one-sided, but what exactly does that mean? Right?
For me, I was told for the lack of communication thing where I'm
Yeah.
like, I just don't feel like talking. And believe it or not, despite me doing this video, that me not feeling like I want to talk, it happens a majority of my well, as soon as I wake up, I don't really feel like talking. When the day ends, I don't feel
Oh,
like talking either.
I'm
That's
the
just a
same way.
thing.
Yeah, I'm the same way. There's certain, usually afternoons, I'm best, but before or after that, no, like in the morning, I need to gear up. Somebody
Hmm.
starts on me first thing in the morning, I am not at my best. I
And
need to
because
breathe.
I'm a
Yeah.
person who's not wanting to purposely communicate, which is why I call myself antisocial,
Yeah.
or like I'm antisocial, I'm introvert. I don't like speaking as like a a thing I like to do constantly. That's why I was told that this friendship seems one-sided because you don't ever contact me. And I'm like, listen, I told you the way I contact. If
Right.
that is not your thing, then we are not compatible.
Right.
Like I can't, I have one time I in a relationship because of the issues they were having, because I said, oh, because they're issues, they have issues, it's okay. I can force myself to
Right.
talk almost every day.
Right.
And that was just constant burnout. And then I
Oh,
would have
that's
to
a
do
lot.
videos
Yeah.
with them too. And then I'm like, okay, I'm talking, I'm doing videos, and it's getting too much. And I'm like, I have to try and step back. Unfortunately, me stepping back is me leaving.
See,
Or
that's a control lever. That's what I'm talking about, right? Because a two-sided thing there would be, all right, Bianca stayed up and talked to me all last night. She spent 3 hours with me. I'm gonna give her a break today. It's not, oh, she stayed up all night with me, so she likes doing that, right? I can do that again. No, 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 no. That's not appreciative of your time and your energy, you know?
I know people who can talk all day,
Oh, I do
morning to
too.
evening.
I can talk all day. That doesn't mean I like doing it,
Right.
you
For me,
know?
even with real life friends, even like personally going with them somewhere and to chitter chatter a little bit. We're
Yeah.
all introverts, so sometimes there's a silence, but we're not uncomfortable with the
Right.
silence. So that hangout is up to 3 hours.
Right.
And then we're all burnt out and we're like, okay, we're going home. If I do more than that, I'm gone. I'm going to be constantly disassociating. I will probably forget to eat because I'm so tired. And I'm just like, I have to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Your social battery runs out, and that's totally fair. But somebody who knows that about you, especially with, health stuff, this idea that when I don't hear from you for a couple days, I just sort of assume, uh-oh, I hope Bianca's okay, because it usually means you're sick. Right? It's not that you're just being a bad friend. It's you got the flu or something like that. It turns out I'm usually right. And
I want to say it's a majority of the time I'm napping. I'm
well,
sleepy.
yeah, like you work hard and you work in customer service, which is another reason why, you know, more socialization may not be your favorite thing all the time. And I don't know. I think that people who are constantly not giving benefit of the doubt, that's a red flag. Because everybody wants benefit of the doubt, but if you want benefit of the doubt, I believe you have to give it, you know? And so don't assume that somebody did it on purpose. Because if you think somebody did something mean on purpose, why even bother talking to them about it? Because
I,
somebody who's mean on purpose is never going to admit it most of the time.
I unfortunately give benefit of the doubt too many times than I should have.
Well, but that's something you can scale back, right? I think
Hmm.
in broad strokes, giving benefit of the doubt is a good and positive quality. And people should appreciate that because there's not enough of that out there. Because I find if I give somebody benefit of the doubt and they act like an asshole, then, well, that wasn't me. That was them, right? I can walk away clean conscience. And when they talk shit about me, because they always do, I'm like, whatever. They're lying. That's not what went down. They got every chance. So I find that giving benefit of the doubt is about me, right?
Hmm.
Confident people give benefit of the doubt. Insecure people don't. They think everybody's trying to trap or trick them.
Right. I
And
put compulsive liars on my list.
well, I mean, that's sort of a given, right? But
Sometimes you don't know though. Sometimes, well, for me, somebody who didn't really take any classes in like psychology or watch any videos on it or doesn't know anything about that type of world, I was like, wait a minute. This is an ongoing thing. Are you a compulsive liar? What's going on? Am I just now finding this out? Was there a point in your life where you figured out somebody was most likely a compulsive liar, but constantly gave benefit of the doubt?
Oh, the one that gets me is when I catch somebody in a lie and they blame me for it. It's like, nah, you had choices. Especially if it's something they've been lying about for a long time. And it's amazing how many, and in this case, it's more often women than men. Uh, they'll do this sob story about how they had to lie because I'd get angry at them. And the truth is, if they had told the truth right off the bat, it would have been no problem. The thing I got angry about is I had to catch them lying. They didn't come clean themselves, you know?
There was many times where I've caught a person in a lie, but I purposely wouldn't say anything because I said, well, this person has like trauma, PTSD. So
Oh,
lying probably just comes out as a sort of safety mechanism of some kind. So I shouldn't really take so much offense to it or something like
well,
that.
not taking offense and realizing that, I mean, for me, part of the reason I make sure I tell the truth is part of my PTSD is not being believed, right? I know I'm
Right.
telling the truth and people just don't believe me. And so I had to make it. So I have to err on the side of honesty. So when I'm not believed, I know I told the truth. I will give people every benefit just to be able to go, nope, I was fair. I told the truth. And that's part of the reason I can't stand. I see women do the you made me lie thing. Women do the you made me thing. And the you made me thing is a red flag for me.
Hmm. For
Men,
me, it was like, well, I opened up because you seem like a person that I can easily open up to. And I would say, great,
yeah.
I guess. Uh, and then many times I would get that more and more. And then sometimes that's when I catch the person in the lie and I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
why are you, if you're okay with opening up,
Right. Why'd
then
you
why
lie?
am I receiving, yeah, why
Yeah.
am I receiving the lies? Why are you saying different things? It
Right.
just are you say you trust me, but you go to lying first,
Yeah.
would it not if you actually thought much of the friendship, would you not tell me the truth first rather than lie?
Yeah. 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 I mean, and that's logical, right? The
Hmm.
the other one that drives me crazy, and it's I don't know if I should gender this because I find women are more likely than men to pull the you made me, though not exclusively. I've had men do that too. But men do the it's just my personality. That one drives me bonkers because I get criticized for my personality all the time, and people expect me to just go, sir, yes, sir, I'll change that right now. And then it's just my personality. Well, okay, what you're saying there is I'm not willing to make an effort to make other people more comfortable. Bye bye, right?
Right.
It just, who says that? Because if it's just an aspect of personality, all right, somebody with an otherwise abrasive personality can still care about people.
Mm.
I have kind of an asshole personality. It's something of a callus that got born of years in the media. But I'm one of those people who have to remind myself not to just go, "Pfft, it's not a big deal." Because I have to remind myself of what it was like when I first went through it. And when I first
Mm.
went through it, it was a big deal. So I'm not going to tell another person, that's no big deal. Because I remember the first time I went through it, it was awful. And so if I can overcome my my defects of personality, then I don't let other people get away with that shit. Like if I am too rough on someone, and I find out it upset them, I'll be the first one to go, look, it was never my intention to upset you. I see why it did. I'm sorry. I'll try to watch that going forward. No guarantees, but I'm going to try.
Hmm.
And to me, that is
And
so basic.
yes, I find many times that I find it weird that so when I talk to one of my friends, I would say, "Oh, this thing happened." They're like, "Yeah, this thing happened." I'm like, "Oh, you didn't tell me." They're like, "I didn't want to talk about it," and I
Right.
said, "That's completely fine."
Right.
But then for other past friendships I've had, they will tell me something, they would lie about it,
Yeah.
and I would say, well, what was the point? If you didn't want to tell me this information, why lie about it?
Right.
You could have just said nothing
Yeah.
at all. Because
Yeah.
there was times when I would ask them about a subject, knowing the truth, and they're like, "No, no, it's nothing. I don't have that. This thing doesn't exist. Trust me." And I'm like, but I know it does. I know it exists. I'm letting you know that I'm in a subtle way, which may be very terrible, subtle, that I know about this. That's why I keep asking you
Right.
about it. And I know you're lying,
Yeah.
but constantly lying to me about either a subject, an object, a person, or something like that. I'm just like, well, this is disappointing.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some times where something will just come out automatically. And I realize I agreed to something. I'm like, why did I do that? No, it's not okay with me, but I just said it was okay.
That
And I'm
happens
like,
to me a lot.
yeah. But it's like, I have to be responsible for the fact that I said it was okay. Nobody made me do that. I made a choice.
If
And
there is a subject or something like that where I'm talking to somebody or talking to a friend and then I was like, "Hey, so since we're on the subject again, I was nodding my head saying, "Yeah,
right,
you're in the right.
right.
You're totally the victim in this situation. I think it's completely okay to have this thought, this mindset, that type of thing." Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I instantly agreed, but after some thinking about it, which sometimes takes a few days,
Yeah.
it hits me and I'm like, "Wait, that is actually I don't think that's okay."
Yeah, the really uncomfortable ones is when people come to you because they know you feel strongly about a particular issue and they're looking for a rubber stamp from you. Like, oh, Leanna's going to tell me it's perfectly fine to say these things about women, and it's not. And then they get mad at me. I lost a friend once because, and this one still stinks because there was nothing I could do. What they were saying was just not true. That the further north you go, the lighter people's skin gets. Now, I am very pale, as you know, Bianca, but there's this people that are an indigenous people of Canada called the Inuit, and they are not as pale as me. And so it's like, no, what you're saying is just not factual. And I pointed out to them the Inuit. Well, how was I supposed to know that? Well, because it's fact. And
I was gonna
now,
say Google.
well, but it's also now you know. So take down the post with the inaccurate information. You're spreading false information. Well, I'm going to leave it up because it's what I felt at the time. It's like feelings are not facts. If you've
Shouldn't
got something up there
they?
that's wrong, especially if it's racist, take it down. But no, just too proud.
Never mind. I was gonna say something like, I was gonna say something like, oh, maybe they'll put like if it was a video, they'll put something in the description or make a pinned comment saying, okay, so this was a mistake. Here's the stuff I got wrong, blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. But then you said racist, and I'm like, never mind.
Yeah. Oh,
Probably should be taken down.
I do that whenever possible. If there's something I don't stand by anymore, because to me, that builds integrity, right? People know that if I believe I'm wrong about something or I change my mind, I will say so. And I think that, respect is earned. It's not immediate. Giving benefit of the doubt is not the same as trusting someone. right? Giving benefit of the
Hmm.
doubt doesn't mean no doubt. And for me to take someone at their word with no evidence, it takes a bit. Now, I'm not going to call someone a liar to their face. I'm just going to go, okay, what other possibilities could there be to this really outlandish claim? But that's, because I've been in documentary and news for most of my life. It's an instinct at this point. And so when people go, "What? You don't believe me?" It's like I believe you're telling me what you believe. I just think you might be making some assumptions. And so it's possible that you 100% believe what you're saying, but those aren't the facts. That doesn't tend to go over well, but that is just my personality. Okay, Bianca, anything you want to add? One last thing about red flags and friendships? I think we've covered a fair bit.
What does sorry even mean nowadays?
Oh, sorry means drop it too often. Uh, a sincere apology is the best thing in the world, isn't it?
Hmm. Uh,
Yeah.
but like from all the um drama from these past online friendships that I've
Mhm.
had, I have I have some trouble believing in people's sorries anymore.
I don't blame you. You know
I'm
how you
like, you're
know
saying
a story's
yes.
real?
Mm.
When someone tells you what they're going to change to correct the mistake,
Oh,
right?
I
If
was
they're
gonna say
like,
something similar.
yeah,
I
it's
was gonna
like, yeah, if they're like, that wasn't fair to you, so next time, I'm going to put it in my calendar or I'll make sure I'll set a reminder, or something tangible that makes it clear that they're not just let me off the hook. They're actually going to put some work in to make sure it doesn't happen again because your time and energy is worth something.
there has been times when I would just get so many sorries from people. They're like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do better. But
Well,
then,
yeah, I ask, how you going to do that? And if they don't know, it ain't real.
and then so there was a point where my mindset went, I would rather see action than receive a sorry. If this is how people are just going to say sorry, like don't say sorry because you feel like you're required to or inclined to, especially from trauma. For many people
Yeah.
who have trauma, they will just instinctively say sorry because
Yes, they're trying to
many times of their
appease.
life, yeah,
Yeah.
many times of their life, they're forced to do apologies. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I understand that because I would do the same thing.
Yeah. They're trying to
Even
people
in,
please.
yeah, and like that's something I'm also trying to stop. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if I don't feel like I need to say sorry, then I'm not going to.
Right.
Like there was a
And I mean,
conversation I
I'm
had with a person
Canadian.
and I didn't say sorry at all. And I'm like,
See, I'm Canadian. We apologize to inanimate objects, and I still agree with you. We walk on a lawn and a Canada goose hisses at us. We're like, sorry, right? Like we bump into a parking meter, we apologize to it. It's just this weird affectation. But I agree with you that your sorries have to mean something. And if you're just apologizing to sort of get out of trouble or get the person to shut up, that's gonna negatively impact your relationships in the long run because people stop believing a person who does that, right? If you know somebody who, oh yeah, they're super sorry and they're just gonna do it again, the sorry doesn't mean anything.
what sucks is that sometimes I wouldn't get a sorry. I would get a don't worry, I won't talk about it ever again. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, but hold on. But do you
Right.
understand what this conversation is about? Do you know
Yep.
why
Yep.
I'm I I'm not even asking for a sorry. I'm asking why. Do you know why I'm asking you not to do this? Do you know why I'm saying this makes me uncomfortable? And then
Right. You're looking for
sometimes
understanding, reassurance. That's fair.
and then I would be told, I don't really care anymore. And I'm like, that's cool.
Oh,
You never did then.
yeah.
Block.
Yep. That's just pride right there. And that's the thing. people just need to get over themselves and recognize that relationships, it doesn't have to be miserable effort, but they take effort, right? And that's a good thing. Putting in effort is how you show you care about someone, but I have to care at the time. I gotta run. So Bianca, you can check out her YouTube channel, Myself in Comics, where she does awesome interviews with awesome indie artists. I discover people off of Myself in Comics. So Bianca, thanks again for taking the time and coming on Two Women Talking.
Thank you for having me.